Hello everyone, it's me, Riffraff Hornhelm, and I'm back again with another presentation for the Dwarven Vault. And today, after a long delay, we have a character review. Yay! So, today's character comes from us by a gentleman by the name of Paul, who sent it to us, and he says he lives in the greater Midwestern United States. And he had a lot of commentary in his email and says that, like many of the early gamers, and he also says he's a very early gamer, they originated out of the Midwest. They originated out of the gaming circuit and interest that ran anywhere from, Minnesota down to Illinois, Ohio, Michigan, Indiana, all that kind of area there. Wisconsin, of course, where TSR was. And has a character that I think you'll find interesting. Now, one of the comments in his email is he wonders if we can be fair to this character because it's a wood elf, a sylvan elf, from 1E. Now, being a dwarf, of course I can be fair with elves. It's just my definition of fair is maybe a little bit different than others. But we'll be as fair as we can in taking a look at this interesting elf who goes by the name of Dingle. I can't make that up, folks. All you can do is kind of feel sorry for him. So I'm going to pass this on to our reviewer. Red, after a long absence, is back right now helping us out. He has been involved with the little bit of conflict that we've been having with the goblins and orcs and occasionally an elf. So Red's going to take us through it all, and I'll talk to you afterwards. Enjoy, everyone. Hello, everyone. Red Hornhelm. I'm Red, and you're not. And I'm back. It's been a while, fans. I've been working very hard in the war. Well, sorry, the undeclared war. And I was finally given some leave. You can kill goblins and orcs all day long. And it's like trying to stop a flood. It's just like impossible. So other people can do that. I need a break. And what I need to talk to you about today is not helping me any with my PTSD from the most recent combat, I'll tell you that much. I'm here to talk today about a character that was sent in to us from somebody who lives in the greater Midwest by the name of Paul, who says that this particular character is one that he's played since early days of 1E. And he says in his note to us that he doesn't think we have the, I don't want to use the same word, that we don't have the intestinal fortitude to really critique this character and be fair to it because it's an elf. Yes, it's an elf. Dingle from Dangle. And Dangle is apparently a elvish, like, tree house thing with swinging vines and whatnot, like Tarzan. It's elves. They eat fruits and nuts and like salad and stuff and rabbit food. I don't understand it. And Dingle is an elf, a wood elf, a sylvan elf, who has been around for a long time. And he's a fighter and a bowman. And he also has some thievish abilities. Dingle, who comes from Dangle, is now 14th level. So he's been through a lot to make it to 14th level, that's for sure. Now it says in the information that was sent to us that Dingle has, a specific personality, and he's a bit of a trickster, jokester type, but only to dwarves. He really, really dislikes dwarves. Haven't we been telling you this? That elves have an issue with us dwarves? And us dwarves, Well, we sure have an issue with elves. Now, this is difficult to talk about. He dresses as a regular elven type for the woods, you know, the green and brown colored clothing and not much armor, and carries a bow, and of course he does carry a sword as well, but he is geared up more as a fighter. He cloaks it all up and is less visible that way, especially because the cloak that he has is a cloak of invisibility. And as a elf, one of his greatest successes, as he says, I bet you won't be able to talk about this one without having problems. Well, yeah, you're right. It makes me angry. Because you were picking on dwarves. Because he dislikes the dwarves so much, there was a dwarven army that was coming to the battlefield and fought well against orcs and goblins and was very successful. And like any good dwarves would, they were celebrating, okay? They were talking smack and having a good time and talking about how great they were. And this dingle went ahead and, well, I don't know how to say it. He created an illusion by hiring a human illusionist to make a great pile of gold, and then he sent a rumor to the dwarves that a reward for their service was off to the side of the battlefield and a great pile of gold. And they looked over there and they saw that. Of course, we're dwarves. We like gold. So everybody ran over there to get the gold. The illusion was on the edge of a short cliff that dropped into a great, I don't know, fen, swamp, something like that. Shallow water, lots of mud. And all the dwarves went running over to grab the gold and ran over the edge of the cliff and jumped into, inadvertently, this mud pit. And were coated with mud. Well, you can imagine what kind of reaction that got from all the elves there. They just about bust a gut laughing so hard. And the same thing happened with the humans who were watching. The dwarves became a laughingstock. Everybody was laughing at them. And they lost so much prestige that they slunk away from the battlefield, even though they were the ones who had won it, and returned back to their dwarven home, not looking for any wealth whatsoever. Very uncharacteristic for us dwarves. And Dingle was treated like a hero. The elves all thought that was the best thing they'd ever seen. They talked about it forever. The dwarves never lived it down. Now, from an elf perspective, I understand why this is an epic success. But yes, it does frost me up. Not a way to treat your dwarvish friends. Well, especially on the battlefield. But that's what happened. Now we have to talk about epic failures, but first, for their epic success. Well, okay. This is where you're really testing us to see whether or not we would give you a decent score for what you did, based on what elves are and what we think of elves. Yeah, for you elves, this was pretty epic. So we're going to give you a 7 on a scale of epicness for your epic success. Maybe a 7.5, but a 7. Now, epic failure. What was his epic failure? Well, it also involved this cocksure little elf getting ahead of itself. What he tells us is that his epic failure also had to do with the dwarves. And it was, once again, involving illusions, or invisibility in this case. The dwarves were having a big celebration for the king of the dwarves in that area. And he had bragged, this elf Dingle, had bragged to his friends that he was going to steal the king's whiskey. And that way he could laugh at the king, and the king could cry for not having his favorite whiskey. So using his cloak of invisibility, he snuck into the dwarvish home of the king, which was inside this giant mountain fortress, and went to where they kept the cask of the king's special whiskey, just a small cask. and using the cloak, grabbed it up and started sneaking off. Unfortunately for him, and due to a bad die roll, at the time he was doing this and came around the corner of the table, somebody who was standing there didn't see any of this happening, inadvertently stepped on his cloak. And as Dingle moved forward, the cloak was pulled off his body, and he was left standing there with the king's whiskey in his hands. He immediately got into a huge fight with the dwarves and barely escaped with his life. As he says, he lost all but 10 hit points in a battle with the dwarves to escape. And in the process, not only lost his beautiful cloak of invisibility, but he also lost his sword, which was snatched from his belt as he was trying to run away. His sword, which was a beautiful sword, had high value. He was a marked elf after that point, and not only were the dwarves on the lookout for him, but the humans didn't trust him either. So that's a fairly epic failure, and it warmed our dwarvish beards and made us feel better about some of the epic success stuff from before. So on an epic failure, we'd say that getting caught and have the crap beaten out of you by a bunch of dwarves, yeah, that's pretty epic. So, but we also thought that, well, in case anybody thought that we were being unfair with how epic of his success was, that we would duplicate the score on the failure. So a 7. Now overall, what do we think of Dingle? This was very tough because we had to put ourselves in Dingle's shoes, and nobody wanted to do that as a dwarf, and try and think about overall how much would we like him and trust him and so forth and so on. Well, to be fair, we're going to give him a 7 on the overall impression because we're pretty sure that he's going to impress other elves who are all useless anyways. But from the dwarven standpoint, it would be much lower. In terms of having him in our party, hell no. That's a big no. Not going to happen. So that's Dingle from Dangle. I mean, he should be put to death just for the name stuff, I think. But go back to your fruits and nuts. Enjoy them, Dingle. And as dwarves, we'll look for an opportunity to trip you so you fall down a flight of stairs. Now, well, I'm Red Hornhelm. You're not. Take care, everyone, and remember, dwarves rock. So, what did you think of Dingle from Dangle? Wow. I mean, this whole thing is kind of like leading with your chin. You have to expect to get hit here. When you have a elven character that not only is a wood elf and represents so many things that us dwarves don't like, but the speciality of this particular elf is to make dwarves crazy, is to cause nothing but issues with them. Well, it's easy to see where us dwarves get our dislike of elves when you have elves like this. Wood elves. Damn wood elves. And as disappointed as I may be with the true character behind this character, as a dwarf, this is really tough. But you got to hear it. Epic successes and epic failures, no matter how much they piss me off. Oh well. Hope you enjoyed today's presentation. If you did, leave us a like, give us a comment, share, consider subscribing, and come back and see us again real soon. Remember, dwarves rock!